Welcome back to the Criss Cross hat slash Outdoorsman's hat. I believe we left off with basically getting the hat to the point where we're just building up the height of the hat. And that brings us to this being the end of row 52. If you're having trouble figuring out how many rows you've done, you can actually flip the hat inside out. And if you look right here, you can count these little ridges. So 2, 4, 6, 8, 10, 12, 14, 16, 18, 20, 22, 24, 26, 28, 30, 32, 34, 36, 38, 40, 42, 44, 46, 48, 50, 52. So that is the quick version of figuring out which row you're on. My sister Sarah actually pointed that out because I was sitting here trying to look at each of the little bumps on the outside of the hat. So once you're done with row 52, you're gonna continue into what I would consider the neck rows. So these rows are actually going to be worked back and forth instead of in the round. You're just going to be continuing on, so don't cut your yarn or anything. Basically what happens is we're going to work back and forth a few rows just to give it a little bit of length to cover the nape of the neck. So row 53, we're going to be basically doing similarly to what we've been doing, but just only part of the round. So row 53, we're working into not the previous row, but into row 51, and we're going to be doing front post double crochets in the Criss Cross design. So same way we've been doing it, but only for 44 stitches instead of all the way around. So I'm going to chain up 1, and then it's going to be 1 and 2, oops, gosh, 3 and 4, 5 and 6. And make sure that you're doing these as crisscross. So when you're doing the crisscross stitches, you're working into the second one and then into the first. And all of these stitches are front post. 7. Oh goodness. Well, let me try that one again. I got a little bit hung up there. So that makes 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20, 21, 22, 23, 24, 25, 26, 27, 28, 29, 30, 31, 32, 33, 34, 35, 36, 37, 38, 39, 40, 41, 42, 43, and 44. So that is as far as we're going to do for the neck. So if you look at the, oh goodness, if you look at how far around we're going on this hat, this is the beginning of the round. Here's where we've stopped. So it's a little over half of the stitches. And then, and what will happen is as we build up this neck, once we're done with the neck portion, then we'll have our ear flaps. So it needs to be just a little bit above half just to cover the ears on each side. So anyways, once we get to this point, what I prefer to do to make sure that I get the right stitch is we go back to the beginning of the round and count on row 52 each of our stitches up to 44 so that we know where to slip stitch. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20, 21, 22, 23, 24, 25, 26, 27, 28, 29, 30, 31, 32, 33, 34, 35, 36, 37, 38, 39, 40, 41, 42, 43, and 44. I'm just going to go ahead and put my hook right in there. And then slip stitch. Now this is kind of an odd slip stitch just because of the positioning of all the stitches, but it does work. And then we're going to chain up 2, and we're going to turn it because we're working back and forth now instead of in the rounds. But don't worry, it won't change how it looks on the outside. It'll still look just fine. So instead of working into primarily the row closest to you, you're going to be working into the row furthest away, so that it's not noticeable from the outside. So we've got our first here, we're just doing half double crochets in each. So 1, 2, 3, and I still like to put a stitch going through both approximately every 4 stitches. So 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, and 20, 21, 22, 23, 24, 25, 26, 27, 28, 29, 30, 31, 32, 33, 34, 35, 36, 37, 38, 39, 40, 41, 42, 43, and then going through both. It's a little tricky there. Come on. There we go, 44. All right, so that was rows 53 and 54. Now row 55 is basically going to be the same as 53. So we're just going to chain up one. We're going to turn because we're working in rows instead of rounds now. So starting right here, we're going to be going into not row 54, but back into row 53, so into these double crochets down here. So let's go ahead and do that again. These are all front post double crochets, but done in a crisscross version. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20, 21, 22, 23, 24, 25, 26, 27, 28, 29, 30, 31, 32, 33, 34, 35, 36, 37, 38, 39, 40, 41, 42, 40, oh, come on, 43, last one, 44. Okay, great. So now we're going to go ahead and slip stitch here into that previous row just to kind of tie them together a little bit. Oh, if I can get the stitch, goodness. There we go. All right, so slip stitch there. And then this next row is going to be the half double crochets in each of these outer stitches. But because this is actually the last of the neck rows, I'm actually going to put it into both rows so that it kind of closes it up along that edge. So chain 2, turn your work, and make sure to go into both rows for each stitch this time. So half double crochets all the way across. So, about to lose it. There we go. 1. This one's a little bit harder because we're looking from a very odd angle. There we go. 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20, 21, 22, 23, 24, 25, 26, 27, 28, 29, 30, 31, 32, 33, 34, 35, 36, 37, 38, there we go, 39, 40, 41, 42, 43, and 44. So that's the end of the neck. Now we're going to be working on the ear flaps. So the ear flaps are done separately. The first one we can actually just continue on and go back and forth just over this section. And then the second one will be after we finish our yarn on this side. We're going to reconnect over on this other side and continue on that. So we are on row 57 for the first ear flap. And we are going to chain up 1. And this time we're only going to be working into 12 stitches to start with. So not working into the previous row, but the row before that, working into these double crochets down here. We're going to do our crisscross front post double crochets. So here's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. And again, I'm going to come over here, look at where our stitches are for that previous row. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. So we're going to stick our hook in here and do a slip stitch to kind of piece those two together. So there's our slip stitch. So that's row 57. We're going to now work on row 58, we're going to be making sure that we go into both of the previous rows so that they stay tied together. And we are doing half double crochets primarily, but we are going to do a couple decreases so that as we go from the neck piece to the ear piece, it gets tapered on this side while staying flat on this side. So we're going to go ahead and chain up 2, turn our work. We're going to start with 2 of our half double crochet decreases. So yarn over, we're going to insert into these first stitches, insert into the next one. So now we have 4 loops on the hook, pull through all. We're going to do that again. So yarn over, go through, take a string, go through again, take another string. We have 4 loops, go through all 4. Okay, so there is our decrease here, decrease there, and then we are going to do 8 half double crochets to finish out this little section. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. It's a little messy as you get closer here. 7 and 8. Okay, so that's for a total of 10 stitches. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. All right, so we're going to move on to our next row, which is row 59. We're going to chain up 1 and turn it. And we're going to work into these crisscross double crochets down here. We are going to have a decrease down here. I'll show you how we do that to keep the crisscross set up. Our goal is to have 10 stitches by the end. Currently, these have 12. So we're going to go ahead and get started. It's going to be 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, and then to decrease here, what we're going to do is we're just going to go and put our next stitch around both of these stitches here, so 9, and then we're going to take our next stitch, number 10, and put it around the previous couple of stitches. Oops, if I can get it right. There we go. So 10. So that's how we do the decrease on this particular spot, just because it seems to work out pretty well. So we're going to go ahead and slip stitch those together, those 2 rows, and then we're going to chain 2. And again, we're going to start this next row off with a couple decreases, and then we'll end with just our regular half double crochets. So this one we're going to go in here. It's a little hard on the ends of these rows because of all those decreases. If you can't quite find the stitch, it's not a huge deal. As long as you end up with the right number of stitches and it looks nice, you'll be okay. So there's first decrease and second decrease. Now we're going to do just our regular half double crochets going into both of these rows. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, almost there, 8. Okay, so that's the end of that row. We're going to go ahead and chain up 1, turn it, and do basically the same thing as what we did the last of the crisscross double crochet rows. We're going to go ahead and go 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, and then 7 around this cluster, and 8 around that cluster. So let's go ahead and do that. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, and then 7 around this group, and coming back to do 8 around that group. Oops. There we go. All right, and then we're going to slip stitch here into that previous row to tie them back together. Chain up 2, turn your work. This is actually going to be the last row for this ear flap. So we're going to go ahead and do our couple half double crochet decreases. So find these stitches over here. There we go. So there's 1 decrease, 2 decreases, and then we're going to do the regular half double crochets for the rest. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and 6. All right, so at this point we're going to go ahead and just kind of chain 1 to tie it down, and then we're going to go ahead and trim that. You actually don't have to weave this end in if you decide to do a border around the hat. I'll discuss that in a little bit. So now, looking at this hat from the outside, here's the ear flap we've just done. We're going to go ahead and rotate the hat around to the other side. Now, we're going to be starting with a row of the crisscross double crochets, the front post double crochets, but we need to be 12 stitches back so that we have 12 stitches to work with. So we're going to go ahead and count 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. Stick your hook in, make your slip knot. There we go. Place it over your hook, tighten it down so that it's like a regular tension there. Go ahead and pull it through and chain 1 up. There we go. And you can leave this string hang out because again, we're going to be doing a border around the hat and that'll get hidden in that border. So we're going to go ahead and chain 1, and then we're going to look at our clusters here, or our crisscross pairs, I should say. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. So we're going to be working into this cluster here to start. And we're just going to put a set of crisscrosses over each of them. So there's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. So this next row is basically going to be the same. Actually, this whole ear flap is basically the same as the other. It's just mirrored so that it tapers on the correct side. So we're going to go ahead and chain up 2. And instead of doing our decreases at the beginning of this row, we do our decreases at the end. So we're going to go ahead and do our half double crochets. We're going to do 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, and now we're going to do 2 decreases. So 9, there we go, and 10. So there are our decreases. We're going to chain up 1, and again, because this is mirrored for the double crochet crisscross front post stitches, we're going to be doing our decreases at the beginning of this row. So we're going to go ahead and just 1 around that one, and then 1 around the previous one, and then go through and do the rest like we normally do. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. Okay, now we're going to go ahead and slip stitch, chain up 2, and we're going to do a couple decreases, but they'll be at the end of this row of half double crochets. So go ahead and do 6 of your half double crochets and then a couple decreases. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, and then here's a decrease of 7 and a decrease on 8. So there's that. We're going to go ahead and chain up 1 and do our decreases at the beginning on this part. So there's 1 on that cluster and 1 on this cluster. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, and 8. So we're going to go ahead and slip stitch, chain up 2, and this is going to be our last row other than our border. So this one we go and do, sorry, let's try that again. So 1, 2, 3, 4, and then a decrease here for stitch 5, and a decrease here for stitch 6. So at this point, if you don't want to do a border, you could just finish it off and weave in your ends. Usually what I end up doing is I chain up 1 and then turn it right side out, and I will do a reverse single crochet. So instead of working forward, you work into this stitch back here and act as if it's a single crochet. So like that, and it gives this just a very nice rolled edge. So you can go ahead and do a border if you'd like, and then if you are skipping the tassels for the ears, then you can just be done. If you do want to do the tassels for the ears, what you can do is you can actually chain approximately 120. My sister prefers shorter tassels on her hats, so she actually only chains, I think, 80. But what I do is I usually will chain, I believe, let's see, let me check my notes here. I make 6 of them, so 3 for each side, and then I weave them in halfway through, and then I braid those down. So looking down from the ears, I braid those down so that there's approximately 34 bumps if you count on just one side of the braid. So that's what I usually end up doing, but you can definitely play around, see what you like. My sister likes to put pom-poms on them. I usually leave mine plain just so that they're, you know, just a basic hat. But you can definitely play with this pattern a little bit, do whatever you like. If you run into any questions, feel free to comment, and I will try to get back to you and explain things as thoroughly as possible. If you have any suggestions, I also like to hear those as well. So feel free to comment, and thank you for watching the video. I hope you get to make lots of warm things for all your loved ones.